Again, happy Labor Day for us laborers here at Seahawks headquarters. Greg and Dave Boling with the News Tribune. We're 6 days away from the season opener against Miami. First regular season practice week here at Renton. The news of the day is that Jimmy Graham is still going full go as if he's going to start, Pete Carroll said. But the coach of the Seahawks said that he's not counting on Graham to start. That's not the expectation for Sunday, and it looks more and more like Graham won't make his season debut, at least not this weekend. And
although he was a little vague, didn't you get a sense he was hedging his bets a little bit, saying we're day to day and we're going to see how it's going to go, and then kind of backed off, we have no expectations. So I didn't really know what to make of that. I thought he was just trying to be very cautious and not put pressure on Jimmy Graham.
That, and it doesn't help it doesn't hurt if the Dolphins had a little bit of doubt in their mind on who might be a tight end. Who might be a tight end would be Brandon Williams and Luke Wilson, because Nick Vanette is not going to play this week. He still has a high ankle sprain, although he's not in a boot, and he's out a little bit on the practice field, but not in pads and not practicing. The other news came after practice. Jeremy Lane said he is going to sit again during the national anthem. Just flat out said, yep, I'm sitting again before the game on Sunday at the national anthem. He said he understands that the reaction of fans on Sunday in Seattle, the home fans, might be different than in Oakland, where I noticed very few even noticed he was sitting, because, of course, the Raider fans are worried about the Raiders and they're standing for the national anthem. So we'll see, is what the quote was from Lane about the reaction to Seahawks fans to that. The other issue is, what is the other issue?
I would say there's 15 rookies on this team.
Thank
you know what?
15 rookies in the 53-man roster. That's what? Almost a third.
I remember it was very early on. We looked at the draft picks and thought a lot of these guys are going to make it. And I'd heard some scuttlebutt among the staff saying, there might be a dozen rookies make this team. And to have 15 and kind of another cool element to that, an offshoot, 7 were undrafted. Now, Pete Carroll and John Schneider love doing that because it makes their sales job next year even easier to the real quality players who don't get drafted, and they have a knack for finding them, and beyond that, they are very open to giving them a chance to earn spots on the roster.
26 guys who entered the league undrafted on the team last year. That was by far the most in the NFL, and it sounds like they'll have close to that again this year.
And it keeps them young. They're in the top 5 with the most youthful teams. And the byproduct of that is it keeps them cheap. And they get a cheap workforce for 3 or 4 years while these guys are on their rookie contracts. And that really allows them to pay their core players, their elite guys at a very high level, and keep them happy.
And the offensive line's the greatest example of that. Seattle has the least paid offensive line in the league. They have undrafted free agents. They have, such as Gary Gilliam, the right tackle, was a college tight end at Penn State. That's how they built this roster and been able to keep this window open that the NFL parity says you can't do. What do you expect, Dave, out of this week and then this opener as opposed to maybe last year's or 2 years ago? What's different about this team right now that might be different than last year?
The big thing, Cam Chancellor.
Right.
The impact of his absence was enormous. I misunderstood how much of an impact that would have. I thought, okay, they can plug somebody else in. It's a veteran defense. They're loaded with talent. I underestimated the impact of having Cam Chancellor there. Having everybody back, having Michael Bennett now with a good toe and a lot of fire that he's got burning, I think this defense is going to come out from the start and be particularly dominating. They really hit their stride late last season. I don't think they were happy. They still led the league in points against, but they coughed up a lot of leads and 4 losses in the fourth quarter, and I think a lot of these guys remember that.
Chancellor mentioned today, hey, we're whole again, and he thinks the fact that he's here will make the defense whole again, and they've got 9 of 11 starters back. I would submit to you that they would not have gone 0-2 if Cam Chancellor was on the field to start last season.
Or if they'd have kept Max Unger. I thought Drew Nowak had center really disrupted their offense, and it took them 5 weeks before they could figure out what they were doing.
The Rams beat the Seahawks in the opener, tied the game late in regulation by throwing at Deion Bailey, the strong safety who was playing for Cam Chancellor. Bailey fell down, and the Rams tight end walked into the end zone for the tying touchdown and forced overtime before the Rams won. The next week, Aaron Rodgers went right at the middle of the defense without Cam Chancellor there, and then a few days later, after their 0-2, Cam Chancellor comes back, isn't quite himself, didn't get a training camp, had injuries all year. That alone was the reason to me that they were in Charlotte in January, falling behind 31-0 to the Panthers rather than having that game in Seattle.
4 losses coughed up in the fourth quarter
Right.
could make a different season.
And that is the importance of September and October games in the NFL and to this franchise in particular. We've said it before, the only 3 times the Seahawks have made the Super Bowl was as #1 seeds in the NFC with home field advantage. And if you give away games in September and October, you're going to find yourself in Charlotte in the second weekend of January rather than in Seattle. So that could be the difference in Cam Chancellor just right there. We'll see. We'll be here all week again, and the game is on Sunday at 1:05 p.m. CenturyLink Field, the Dolphins and Seahawks to kick off the 2016 season. Our special section of the News Tribune comes out on Thursday, both online and on newsstands at thenewstribune.com as well. Thank you.